Hey everybody, what's going on? This is John over at All Things Laser. Wanted to do a short little video and hopefully answer a couple questions about how we load our headstones up. People want to know how the Z-table gets removed out from our AP laser. They want to know how we get the cart set up and how we set up a headstone and all that when we do our engravings. So like I said, it's going to be a short little video. Hopefully it'll answer some questions, and if you guys get some value out of it, if you don't mind liking the video, sharing the video, also subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that as well. So hopefully we can answer some questions with this video. So basically the Z-table, it plugs right into the laser. It's on wheels. This laser is actually attached to that frame, which once the Z-table is removed gives us a wide open bottom for larger items or pretty much whatever we want to engrave. It, like I said, it wheels right out pretty easy. You know, once it's unplugged, the cart, I actually use a set of wheelchair ramps and a hand dolly to wheel the stones on there. This headstone isn't very big, but we actually do larger ones. I just figured with this one, it'd be kind of a small one. You know, I clean the stone off, I get it situated the way I want it. The cardboard actually helps me maneuver the heavier stones, makes for less friction, and it just helps me move them around. So once that's all loaded up, I can get the stone underneath the laser. Cart works with a simple hand crank. So as I'm cranking the cart up, I'll set my focal distance in the center of the stone. Next thing I'll do is I will move the laser head around to each side. I want to make sure that it's square with the actual laser. So I'll put my red dot at the top. I'll run it all the way down to the bottom along the edge. As long as that edge is square, then I'm good to go. And you can do it either way. You can start with your focus. You can start with, you know, measuring where you want your origin point. For this one, I would want to do 1 7/8 inches from the top. So that's where we started. That's the way the design was set up. So I go ahead and, you know, measure it out and set my origin point of where the laser is actually going to start from. For this particular design, we're going to start it in the center at the very top. On most of these headstones, we actually have to move them. And once we get the top engraved, we'll engrave the bottom. So it's kind of the same process, just making sure everything's square and then, you know, focused in. So once I got my measurements down and I know where my origin point is, I will actually go to all 4 corners of my engraving area. I'll go ahead and set my focus. A lot of the times with this AP, because each corner has its own adjustable leg, because it's not actually attached to the Z-table. It does take a little time, and you'll see I'll have to do it many times. But if you don't get the focus right, then of course your design will not turn out the way you want it to. Especially on photos. When you're engraving photos, which this one doesn't have, this is just some clip art and some text. But when you're engraving photos, you definitely want to have that focus right. If you don't, then half your photo might be blurry. Half of it may not even show up at all because it's out of focus and you know, you don't have enough power to actually hit that spot. So there's all kinds of stuff that can go on. Definitely remember to set that focus. So once I get the focus done, since in the software, which we're using Lightburn, I have a framing tool set up. Anything that's in that framing tool, I know where it's going to go within that stone. As long as when I run that laser, when I'm framing the stone, if that red dot, which is the laser, runs on every corner and every edge of that area of what I want it to, as you can see, it's following the edge. It'll go across. It'll follow the other edge as well. That's my box. That's my engraving area. That's where I know with what I'm seeing on the screen is actually going to wind up in that box on that headstone. So as long as I have it measured from the top down to my starting point, and that's, you know, the 1 7/8 inches that I wanted. Sometimes it's 2 inches, sometimes it's 2.5 inches. This one, there wasn't enough room for everything, so it had to go a little higher. But everything within my software program, I know where it's going to go within that box, as long as that laser rides the, you know, the left and right edge of that stone. It just, Lightburn helps out a lot with that. The framing tool helps me out a lot. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. I'm sure other people have better ways, that work better for them. This works for me, and it's how I get things done. Dealing with granite, also, you deal with a lot of grain. This one actually didn't have as much grain as some of the other ones, so it actually gave me a pretty clean, pretty white engraving. We weren't mad at the results at all. So here you can see I'm actually having to move the stone because the work area isn't large enough for the actual stone that we're using. Basically just redo everything. I redo the left and right. Sometimes I don't do left and right. Sometimes it's just one side, and as long as it's square, it's good to go. I recheck my focus. I recheck my box. I recheck my settings on the software. Make sure everything's good that way, and basically just redo what I just did. Hit my origin point again. Make sure I'm good. When I do my framing, make sure it rides on the edge. Right there, I think it was about an inch and a half from that the bottom word there. So I got my starting point, and where it will run right there is where I want everything to go. So we're just making sure that it runs true on all sides. And as soon as we're good with that, we hit the go button and away we go. And this will be the last part of the actual design for the front of the headstone. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up a little bit, but I'm hoping this will answer some questions on how we set up the stones, how we move them around. That ramp that I use helps out a lot. I've gotten some pretty heavy stones on it, and there we go. As you can see, some pretty clean results. From here, I just crank the card down, bring it back out, reverse the process, spray it off, wipe it off. Set up my ramps and, do the same thing I did when I hooked it all up. Yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully this answers some questions. If you got some value out of it, like, share, and definitely subscribe. We're going to start doing a lot more of these. You can check out and see all the other things we do as well. See you on the next one.